Hey there, tech fans. Rick here again with another product that I think you're going to really like. It's the Orei UHDS-212 Bidirectional HDMI switch. Now, an HDMI switch like this can be an incredibly useful device because it provides complete control over the connections between your media devices and your displays. And normally, an HDMI switch is available in one of two different configurations. In the first case, the switch provides multiple input ports and a single output port that allows you to connect up a collection of media devices to the input and a monitor to the output, and use the button on the top of the device to decide which of those media products is currently displayed on that monitor. And that can come in really handy in a living room where you've got a widescreen TV and multiple media products. Maybe the kids have a game console and you have an Apple TV and you'd like to display those products on that monitor at different times. Now, I know you can just yank out the HDMI cables and move it around between those devices, but that's a bit of a headache, and over time the fatigue on the cables and the ports is going to cause you a lot of problems. So a switch like this can solve that problem for you by connecting the game console up to one of the input ports and the Apple TV up to the other one, and connecting the monitor to the output. You can simply tap the button on the top to switch between those two different devices. Now in the second case, the switch provides a single input and multiple outputs, and you'd use that maybe on your desk where you've got a couple of monitors and a computer that you'd like to switch between those monitors. And in that case, you'll connect the computer up to the input port, the monitors up to the output port, and use the button on the top to switch between those two monitors to display what's on your laptop. And both of those scenarios are really common. The big difference between this switch and other switches on the market is that with those two scenarios, those are different switches. With this one, it can handle both of those scenarios. So it can be both a multiple input, single output, and a single input, multiple output in the same switch, which saves you time, saves you money, makes things a lot easier, and that's what makes it so special. So as part of this overview, I always like to start with an unboxing of a product. There's not a lot in the box, but I'll do an unboxing really quickly, and then I'll take a closer look at the switch and explain the connections and how you'll need to use it with your own equipment at home. I'll come back and actually do a demonstration to show you both of those scenarios so you understand how to use the product, and then finally I'll come back and talk about some of the things that really separate this from some of the other HDMI switchers on the market. So let's get started with the unboxing. Again, there's not a lot in the box. It's an incredibly easy product to use. So when you pop open the box, you'll find the switcher, and they call it a 212 because it's really a 2x1 and a 1x2 in the same switch. You'll also find an instruction manual that lists connection diagrams, specifications, and other details you'll need to understand about this to use it correctly. Now, next I'm going to come back and actually do a closer look, and then I'll do the demonstration. But a couple other key things about this unit. A lot of times HDMI switchers are limited as far as the resolution they can pass through. This can support 4K ultra high definition content at 60 frames a second. It's also CEC compliant. It can display HDR content. It's also HDCP 1.4 and 2.2 compliant. So everything you're going to want to pass through the switch, whether it's a game console, an Apple TV, or anything, it's going to be able to handle it. So stay tuned. Next, I'll take a closer look, and then I'll come back with the demonstration. The Orei UHDS-201 bidirectional HDMI switch is incredibly small and compact, which makes it perfect for almost any installation. It features a high-impact plastic case, which means it's durable and very lightweight. On the top of the unit, you'll find a button in the center that's used to select between the two inputs, and there's an LED next to each of these numbers indicating which of those inputs are active. On the front of the unit, you'll find two full-sized HDMI ports labeled HDMI 1 and HDMI 2, and on the rear you'll find a third HDMI port simply labeled HDMI port. And the reason for that is this can be used as a 2x1 switch, where you'll connect two media devices up to the input and a single monitor on the output, or you can use it as a 1x2 switch, where you'll connect one media device here and two monitors here, and use that button to decide which of those monitors displays the media stream from that input device. So it's incredibly versatile in that way. It also doesn't require external power because all the power needed for this module to operate is sent over the HDMI cable connected to your media player. Nothing on the sides, nothing on the top, but on the bottom you'll notice a nice rubber pad here that's used to protect the surface you set it down on. It also keeps it right where you put it down. It doesn't skid across the surface. So incredibly simple product to use, and again, standard HDMI connections here and here, which makes it really easy to connect it up to any of your devices. Now I'll show you the two most common ways that you can use a bidirectional HDMI switch like this one. In this first example, let's assume you have a widescreen TV in your den or your living room, and you have multiple media devices you'd like to use with that display. let's say a computer and a game console. Now you could certainly get down on your hands and knees every time you wanted to switch between devices and start plugging and unplugging HDMI cables, but over time those cables are going to fatigue and the ports are going to wear out, and it's just a really big hassle. And that's exactly what an HDMI switch like this is designed to help with, because it allows you to digitally select which of those media devices is sent to your monitor. So for this example, I've set up two small media players over here. Each of them are displaying a different image, a game console and a computer, to make them easy to tell apart. And what I'll do is connect those up to the switch first. I've already plugged HDMI cables into those media players, and these are standard HDMI connections. And I'll plug that into the HDMI 1 and the HDMI 2 ports on the switch. Now the minute I do that, you'll see a blue light comes on the top. That's because this module doesn't require an external power supply. All the power required for this module to operate is sent over the HDMI cable from your media device. And now we're ready to connect up a monitor to the third HDMI port. And I've got a cable connected to this monitor right here, and I'll plug it into that open port. And the minute I do, the switch analyzes the media stream coming in and the resolution of the monitor. It makes whatever adjustments are needed to give you the best possible picture. Now right now I'm on input number 1, which is the game console. If I want to switch to the computer, I just tap that button. Again, it takes a second to adjust, and the computer comes up. If I want to go back to the game console, I tap it again. And that's really, really handy, because now you've got this digital ability to switch between both of those inputs. And technically this is considered a 2x1 switch, 2 input to a single output. Now the second example is similar but a little bit different. In this second example, let's assume you have a computer on your desk and you have two monitors that you'd like to switch that computer between. Now you can't send that output to both of the monitors at the same time using a switch like this. You'd need a splitter to do that. But in that scenario, I can connect the computer up to the one port and two monitors up to the other two ports. So let me start by connecting up the computer to the single port. Just like that. Again, a standard HDMI connection. And again, the LED came on, so I've got power to the module. And now I'll connect my two monitors up to the outputs. And currently I've got input number 1 selected, so it should be the, I believe, the bottom monitor. Let's see what happens here. No, it was the top monitor. Okay, so essentially what I've got is the computer coming in and two monitors coming out. So this is a 1x2 setup, and if I want to switch to the second monitor, I just tap it. Now it'll move to the bottom monitor. And if I want to go back up to the top monitor, I just tap it again like this. So the computer can switch between these two monitors, and the best part is they can be different resolutions, they can be different sizes. This is smart enough to recognize that and make the adjustments. And again, 4K, 60 frames a second content with HDR, CEC. It's just an incredibly simple device to use and can really handle a lot of different scenarios. And what makes this so special compared to standard switches is, again, because it's bidirectional, it can be both a 2x1 and a 1x2 in the same switch. And in my house, I have a bunch of these connected in my computer room and in my main room where we're watching widescreen TVs. And it just gives me the ability, again, to digitally select what I want being displayed on that particular screen. So pretty cool product. I hope that was helpful. And it really is just that simple to get it working. I hope that closer look and demonstration were helpful in showing you just how useful a product like this can be. Now here are a few key things to keep in mind when you're comparing the Orei UHDS-212 bidirectional HDMI switch with others you may be considering. And the first thing has to do with the fact that it's bidirectional. This switch can be used as a single input dual output switch or as a dual input single output switch, which makes it incredibly versatile and really the perfect solution anytime you'll need to control a connection between your media devices and your displays. Other switches on the market are typically a 1x2, which is a single input to two outputs, or a 2x1, which is a dual input to a single output, and they work great, but this switch can handle both of those circumstances. I also love the fact that it's tiny. A lot of other switches on the market tend to be really big, and they sit on top of your media center, and they're very obvious. This one is small enough where you almost forget that it's there. You can even have it hanging behind your media cabinet and just tap that button to select between the inputs. Another key consideration is the resolution that a switch can handle. A lot of switches on the market may handle 4K content, but only at 30 frames a second, and some don't even handle 4K. They can only handle 1080p content. This one fully supports 4K ultra-high definition media content at 60 frames a second, which means high-resolution media device, high-resolution monitor, you're going to get the best possible display. The certifications are also important. This product is certified for HDCP 1.4 and 2.2, and that's really important if you're playing copy-protected content, because if your switch doesn't support at least 1.4 and even 2.2, a lot of the copy-protected content will stop right at the switch. The switch can't pass it along to your display, so you have a blank display. This one will handle all the modern media styles, so you'll have no issues providing high quality content from your media devices over to your monitors. Another couple of features, it supports HDR Media, which is very common nowadays, especially in 4K content. It's also CEC compliant, which is Consumer Electronic Control. So if you're using one remote control for all of your devices, this won't block the signals. It'll pass them along to your displays, and you can run it and control everything from one remote control. The last thing I'll mention, which I think is another small point, but it's important to me, is the fact that it doesn't require external power. All the power required for this module to operate comes over the HDMI connections you're making to your media devices and your monitors. So you essentially plug in your devices and it's ready to rock and roll. It'll just start, switching between your different inputs. So incredibly versatile, it's reasonably priced, and I think it just does the job. And I've got a couple of them around the house that I use in the media center, one on my desk and one down in the kids' room, and it just works great. So hopefully you found this helpful. If you've got any questions, drop those in the comments below. I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. I've got links down there too if you want to go check this out on Amazon and a couple other venues. But again, I like it, I use it, I can recommend it. So thanks an awful lot for watching, and until next time, stay nerdy.